And here we are. We are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Magic Hour with myself, Reverend Stephanie Siren, and my colleague and bestie witch, Reverend Dr. Anna Stone.
with
Hi,
a
Anna.
with Master's of Science in Clinical Parapsychology,
Yeah.
Master's of Science in Consciousness and Transformative Studies, and then an MA in Education and Educational Psychology. Okay, I know I don't have enough titles after my name. Sorry, and I'm mad. Just kidding. Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Well, today we are talking about the differences between ritual ceremonial magic and practical magic, also known as witchcraft, right? Or folk magic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would say witchcraft is the blanket term for any magic that doesn't fall underneath like the rigid structure of ceremonial magic, ritual magic, right?
Right.
Yeah. And they're two
Absolutely.
different things. And like the reason I wanted to bring this up is because recently I've been much more focused on ritual and ceremonial magic. So especially through my studies with my, education and then also in my personal life. So I don't think I really had a clear picture of it before, actually. I think that I wasn't really aware of the big differences between those two things, right? Like when you hear someone talking about magic, I think it's like everyone assumes it's the same kind of thing, maybe. I don't know. So what do you think?
Yeah,
Do you know?
I think you're right. I think people think it's the same thing.
Mhm.
They don't know the difference between, and they are different. They are two different systems of magic.
Right. They are two different systems of magic. And let's so I think the first delineation comes with who practices what. Okay. So I believe like so for witchcraft would be what do you think, Stephanie? Is it trained or is it just known?
Witchcraft is just known. You can have someone mentor you, and that's usually what happens, right? That's how we find out that we have that witchcraft inside of us, that power, that connection to the elements and to the earth that is indescribable. It's like a knowing. And when that wakes up inside of you, it's called like a witch's call, basically. And it's your family's folk magic,
Hmm.
varies from culture to culture.
Right. And every
Yes.
culture has had their own version of this. So this is, a lot of people will refer to this as like a primitive stance, and I hate that. I'm very offended by that because in reality, like our ancestors knew a lot more than we do about a lot of things, like for reals. And that's only now coming back into focus, especially with like the discoveries that are being made in quantum. Again, the quantum fields are really showing us like how much we knew compared to what we know and how wrong we've had it. But I digress. So, but ritual magic is much more structured, and there's two different goals, right? Like so the goals of there's two main reasons for doing these things. So innate or not, like like kind of just known witchcraft, like folk magic, is something for immediate results, right? Like I'm doing it every day. I'm doing in my daily life. I'm practicing. I need to, have a favorable outcome at a job interview or something like that, like something now, right? For the immediate. Whereas ritual magic is not for that. It is not. It's for a long-term goal of higher knowledge of, like getting through the, like transmuting into gold, the great work, like all of the
Hmm.
things, like to self-actualization, self-realization, like those things. It's not for immediate now, like I want a thing, a material thing. It's for advancement of the soul and for the mind in this realm, right? Like those are different. So that the
Yeah.
application is different.
Yes. And I also believe it's also for reverence, practice of reverence.
Okay, so that would be like the ceremonial magic. Yeah, sure. Like
Yes.
there's different. So within ceremonial slash ritual magic, there's different parts of it too.
Mhm.
So there's like the ones that are like veneration, like doing the ritual, like to adhere to specific practices, right?
Mhm.
As in a honoring of whatever it is you're doing. And then there's the ones that is like trying to attain a goal, but usually the goal's lofty and it's like not an immediate thing.
Right. It's the long
Right?
game.
Yeah, and this is true in all of the famous orders. Like so Freemasons, Eastern Star, which is the female version of Freemasons, of which I'm a member, and then like Boda, Golden Dawn, like all of the very well-known orders all engage in ritual and ritual ceremonial magic. They don't. There's no. We're not learning practical magic there. That's not.
Right.
That's not. This is like ritual magic. So, um,
Right. Like things
what
that
about
you would associate with spells, right? That
right?
would be more practical magic, witchcraft.
Well, there's spells that are spells. We call them incantation. Difference, right? There's a little difference, I
But
guess, with the
like what
wording.
you would see in Hollywood, okay? Unless it was like an
Yeah,
old
yeah,
timey kind of thing. Like in the 60s, we had a lot of ceremonial magic shown in Hollywood, but like
yeah.
now it's more practical. It's more you're going to see a lot more natural witchcraft in Hollywood, I think, and
Well,
in
yeah.
it's everywhere.
Well, also the thing is, there's also barriers to entry. Difference there. So with
Mhm.
practical magic, there is no barrier to entry. Like you either do it or you don't. Like, you can either try to train yourself if you don't have it already. You could try, go, read. Um, Reading is still the number one method of learning, despite everything. Um, or, but with ritual ceremonial magic is not just open to the public. It's not. It's not an open practice per se. Like it is one that needs to be. You need to find it first, and you have to be accepted into it first. Like into an order.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
It's not something you do by yourself. That's the other thing. It's not something you do alone. So, in
No,
all my
it's
years of yeah,
very
you have because it's required, right? The energy is required of other people as well. So, and
so
and that's it can bring problems because you need to know that the people you're working with have the same mindset as you and their goals are the same.
So, and if we were to define the terms, then, right? If we were
Yeah.
just really to, in concrete, define the terms, what is ritual ceremonial magic?
It's a highly structured and formatted practice that involves invoking and working with spiritual entities. And it's very steeped in tradition of of Kabbalah, of you know um, Christian Gnosticism, and it is philosophical in nature more than practical in nature. So, and then practical witchcraft would be witchcraft. It's just grounded, accessible, and it's the use of spells and rituals to create tangible, immediate results. That's what the
Right. Like we
academic
just,
definitions
yeah.
are. Yeah.
Again, like the immediate result, not the long game.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's
And
it's
for,
important
for
to
the
understand the difference.
well,
What was
and
that?
herbalism, right? Like if you're looking through a spell book that your grandmother made that has, let's say, natural remedies, right? Using
Right.
herbs or things
Yeah.
that you might have in your kitchen,
Yep.
that's practical magic. That is
Yeah, it is.
witchcraft.
That's funny because I was just watching last night, the University of Arkansas has a new program where it's a master's degree in witchcraft and the occult.
Hmm.
Schools are offering this now, and which is fantastic. And I was reading this
It's
article from the
wonderful.
Catholic Church about it, and the Catholic Church was like, "You should take this class." And and then it starts off saying like, you might be confused. Why would I say to take this class? Because you need to see how what was considered witchcraft. It was literally that. It was people that women specifically that were able to heal people and those spells, those recipes became, you know, a mechanism of suppressing women's ability to own property, like all kinds of reasons why. Okay, like I'm not going to even get into that,
Hmm.
but it's it's about like it was actually just medicine. The
Yes.
practice of medicine is highly correlated to witchcraft because it started off as witchcraft. And now we call things witchcraft in history, historically speaking. I just want to make sure that people understand that this is we call things witchcraft that we don't like or understand. It does not mean that they're witchcraft. Okay, like it's a very bad term that was put on anything that people didn't like or want. They wanted to have control over it. So, and then when there's women who have property and they're doing things like midwifery or helping people overcome sickness, and they have property because their husbands passed away and they left them property. Now, how do we get that out of their hands? Oh, we call them witches, and then we
Right. They were
that's all they're
definitely midwives, they were definitely medicine
Mhm.
women.
Yeah.
It's definitely a sacred calling,
Well,
and
it's just
it's
being
not
a healer. It's like this is just a thing we do. Like you know,
right.
it's not
Like, the things
supernatural.
that there's right, it's actually it's not supernatural, it's natural. It's
It's
so
literally
natural,
natural. It's the most natural. Like it's more far. Like
right?
we existed for how many years prior to big pharma being a thing? How many years did humans
Right.
exist before the first
And then
pill became a thing?
I'm gonna throw it out there, Catholicism is ritual magic,
Oh,
ceremonial
oh my
magic.
god! Yeah. Oh my god! Prove me wrong. Okay, 100%, 100%. In fact, the article I was reading last night from the Catholic Church said we are
Yeah,
the biggest purveyor of ritual magic on
yeah,
an organized in organized religion. And it's funny because people are so like disconnected from the idea, like it's they can't see it for what it is. It's like right in front of you. You go to mass, you take mass, you communion. That's a pagan
you
ritual, you guys.
you take into your body of his body. That's
Yeah.
an
I
invocation.
know, but oh wait, no, it's different. No, it's not. It's literally the only reason it's different is because you put a different name on it. That's all. Like you call it spells, we call it spells, you call it prayer, whatever. It's the same difference.
Right. It's the same thing. And it's also faith, right? Faith is
Yeah.
belief in your spells. Faith
Yeah.
is belief that the spirit world has it handled for you once you give it to them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, faith is it's funny though, because I find that the most people that are, religious are the least faithful. I find. Like they're always the ones so stressed out about things like that. And I don't get it.
Because they're focusing on the dogmatic portion, they're focusing on the rules instead of following their gut.
Right. I mean, so the Catholic Church played a huge part of this whole witchcraft thing, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yes. And see, that's the other thing is rigid structure, right? Like with
Yeah,
ceremonial magic and ritual magic, you have a very rigid structure like a Catholic mass, right?
exactly. No, and also positions within the order. So like there's,
Right.
in order to be an adept, you have to first be an initiate, right? And someone has to take you in and say, okay, I'm going to train you, or you're going to work with me. And then they have to see that you're progressing at a certain level before you can move to the next level. Like I just had that happen to me. I don't know if I didn't tell you yet, but I got up two levels in FOTA. So the other day, I just
Nice.
yeah.
Congratulations.
So I know. But I had a lot of work to do. I did have work. I had work. I had homework I had to do, literally, and research. So this is not like a path for somebody that just wants to be like the weekend warrior kind of like, you know, magical practitioner. Like it's a lifestyle, honestly. It's
Oh, it's more than a lifestyle. It's
yeah,
all consuming, really. I
yeah,
mean, it's
you
a
know.
dedication and commitment.
Yeah, and
And
like we don't do magic often, by the way. Like I love watching TikTok and stuff and seeing everybody talking about their spells that they do every single effing day. I'm like, how? Why? Like, what? Why do you need? It's too much. Like, dial it down. We don't
you
need
know,
to be doing magic every day.
I vet the people that I actually do my spells for hire for
Yeah.
because I won't do it for just anyone anymore.
Oh no. No,
Because
I stopped that. I give out psychological assessments now. If you want to spell, you're gonna
Mhm.
have to have a psych assessment done. I'm serious because I'm not playing around with mental health
Oh,
issues.
I,
I'm not
I
gonna.
I do that with my students. I screen my students before they work with me. I screen my mentees before they work with me. And my mentorship like lives directly in practical witchcraft, which is interesting because like we said, there's flexibility there, right? Like that's the flexible one and it's supposed to be innate. So how can you have students of or mentees of
Oh,
witchcraft?
well, right. I mean, I think that you remember that movie Firestarter?
Yes.
You're very it's like kinda like that. It's like people have abilities, but like for instance, myself, I didn't know any of the stuff I did was weird until I was an adult and I started talking to
Right.
people and realized, wait, you haven't done that your whole life, or like whatever. And I started because I was pretty isolated as a kid. So I didn't know, and then I find out these things are not normal. like, I guess.
Right.
Uh, so you have to have
Right.
someone that can identify it, recognize it, and then help you kind of hone it, right?
Right. And so, what I want to ask you is, what is your personal background and experience and your approach to magic? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, where are
Um,
you at, since you now are in Boda, right? And if you can
right,
explain that a little, can you
sure.
or not?
Yeah, a little like it. Oh yes, in Boda. So Order of the Eastern Star, and that is the Freemason offshoot for the females, right? And I was initiated into that in 2014. And because my grandfather was a master mason of the Lomitas Lodge in California. And
Mhm,
so because of that, I got in. I just petitioned and I got in. And
mhm.
I haven't really learned anything there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not. But Boda, I joined that myself recently here in LA, and that is different. That is, I'm learning lots from them, and it's amazing. And what I've learned is that across all of the different orders and fraternities or whatever you want to call them, they all have the same message pretty much, which is, that you got to know yourself, know thyself. Um, that means a lot more than it sounds like, actually. But my practice started when I was a kid, not
Mhm.
knowing it was anything other than just being me. I don't know, and then I got into actual magic at 12, like spells.
How did you know?
What was that?
How did you know?
How did I know what? Which part?
How did you know at 12 that, like, that was supposed to be the thing to do? Like, was it something inside you? Was it something in your head? Was it just, like, fun? Where were you, like, with that? Like,
Oh, okay. Well, I was a kicked out kid on the street, right? So
mhm.
I had a pretty, like, I mean, I didn't have any parents, so, or parents that cared to have me around. So I had no control, and so it helped me kind of feel like I had some kind of mode of control over things, I guess. And I had a boyfriend who was a lot older than me at the time, and he was into it, and so he shared some books with me, and then that's how I got into actual, like, spells, right? Where I was doing copying, I was reading, Um,
Mm,
and over the years, I just kept doing that, like, but I started writing my own stuff probably at 15 or something, I started writing my own spells. Um, and, you can't talk about this with anybody because you're crazy, right? Like, back then especially, but now, thank God,
oh,
we're changing that.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and people think we live in California and that doesn't happen here, but that's so not true because we grew up in the Bible Belt of
yeah.
California.
Yeah, we did. Fresno.
It's not what you think. It's not like LA,
Mm-mm.
it's not like San Francisco. It is
Mm.
just like anywhere else. And the things that we are has been very hard to be in that community.
Right. Yeah, like, I would never admit it back then at all. I would just keep it to myself.
Oh,
Uh,
I was so afraid.
I got called out in court twice. You know? Like, that was scary. I mean, I was really scared. I was like, "Oh my god," I had this moment where I thought, like, "Oh my god," I just all of the stories from the past came, and of course, nothing happened, right? Like, I think the judge was like,
Mhm.
"Stop bringing up stupid shit like this," in
Mhm.
court. It was like you know, it was a case with my kid, right, my oldest daughter, and
Mhm.
just ridiculous, like, her dad, who's the one that introduced me to actual spells, right, like that, and he, like, brought that up way
Of
back in, like,
course.
6. And, the judge was like, "I don't wanna hear your nonsense, sir. She can practice any religion she wants." I was like, "Oh, thank God." But, it scared me for a minute, I'm not gonna lie. But this is, you can't talk about it, you don't talk about it. I was a scientist for 20 years, research scientist. I would never talk about it because then that would just discredit me, right? Like, immediately, you know?
Mhm.
But now,
Mhm.
we have things like transpersonal psychology, which is and depth psychology, which is kind of overtaking the, therapeutic psychology modalities, right? Like, and that what transpersonal psychology does is it integrates. We're talking about all of your experiences. We're not just talking about your clinical stuff. We're talking about what do you believe in? Like, what are your cultural beliefs? Because you see, like, in Mexico, for instance, right? Like, it's okay to talk about ghosts and stuff and ancestor spirits. Like, that's normal. But if you talk about that shit here, you are crazy. Like, so we have to take into consideration all of your cultural beliefs, like what you grew up with, what your religious beliefs are. And now the DSM-5 actually has a subsection in it for religious experiences, which are now no longer to be considered when you're looking for some kind of mental illness. So if
Right.
somebody, yeah, which thank God, because like, hello, like, I mean, it's hard for me to say that, like, okay, so if I believe in that, that's not crazy, but believing in what I believe in is crazy. Like, that is not fair. Like, they're like the
Well,
same.
I have to say, being a psychic medium, there were so many times I wanted to be tested for schizophrenia, and I was
Oh, yeah.
tested many times
I got tested
because
too.
I was just convinced that it was better to be crazy than be a psychic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun.
And it felt easier. I was like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay because then there's a medication to stop it,
Right.
right?
Yeah, but there
That's
isn't.
that was my mentality of it.
Yeah. I know. I was positive there. Yeah, same. Like I was sure, and then no, there's nothing like that. And so yeah, like I'm actually actively working on getting that definition of magical thinking changed within the psychological community because it's bullshit. Like right now, it's like, okay, superstition is absolutely magical thinking. Like, oh, I broke a mirror, I'm gonna have 7 years bad luck. Sure, because you
Right.
believe that,
That's
yeah, it's gonna happen.
totally magical.
Right.
Yeah.
That's completely different than what I'm talking about. Like,
However, can I say something?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. You know those people that say like Jesus take the wheel or
Mhm.
like ones that like put
Yeah.
Jesus into this magical space of
Right, right.
intervening on their behalf just because they believe in him.
Yeah.
I personally believe is a form of magical thinking,
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
right?
By definition,
And
yes.
right. And I think with believing that any deity is doing something where you're how do I put this? Because it's not there's a difference. It's like there's this little, I don't know, like the stories we tell each ourselves and each other, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
like you're
people,
possessed, you're letting Jesus possess you? Is that what you're saying? You're believing in
right,
spirit
like
right
people
now?
just
Like,
like, kind of people kind of just go on tangents thinking certain things are magical that really aren't.
right, that's what I mean, right. So, yeah, exactly, and, like, what's the definition of magic? Okay, well, it's a hard consensus, like, I know right now because my boyfriend and I are working on this project together and, like, we were looking to define it, and it's kind of like consciousness, right? But, like, overall, what it means is, like, the ability to use unseen energies and forces to bend them to your will. Okay,
Um
so that's what it
sort
means.
of. I kind of believe also though that it's the universe's will and your will aligning together, like
Well,
finding
sure,
the
but
sweet
yeah,
spot.
like, that would be I mean, well, the act of magic, though, practicing magic would be you trying to get to that.
Okay.
You know what I
I'm
mean? Like,
more like
trying to get to that.
and see where I come from with my innate folk magic is I'm very do or don't. I
What do you
don't
mean?
think about practicing. So my background is
Yeah.
more folk magic. Um Personally, I was formally initiated on the tantric path, Red Temple lineage. So I look at life as how do I make love to my life every day? That's
Uh-huh.
how I practice. It's an alchemical type of practice every day of transforming anything that feels bad or icky to something good. I don't sugarcoat shit, but I
Right,
do transform things that I can control, and the things that I can't, I let go.
right, and that's
And I
important.
and I continue to enjoy the wild ride that is my
Yep.
life.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
Cultural,
good. I mean, you gotta be able to know when you can the only thing you can control what is yourself. So,
right,
like,
right,
that's
and
it.
so growing up, I was psychic, but the magical portion didn't come until I started seeing signs when I was about 12.
Yeah.
And I was very Catholic by that time. I grew up very, very, very Catholic, Byzantine Catholic, which is you worship a lot more idols. There's a lot of idol
I
worship. Huh?
I know. I know. I know. It's interesting to me.
Yeah. We have a saint for everything.
Yeah,
So it was a really easy transition over to magic in that regard.
right.
Um, because my personal move over to magic was actually voodoo.
Okay.
And um, I grew up with innate magic of um, the gypsy culture because of my family and how I grew up. So
Right.
it was very superstitious, but it was also very good for me because they believed me when I said, "Hey, so and so's here," and they say this. My
Oh,
psychic
yeah.
meeting was just a thing that we did every day.
That's lucky. I did not have that at
Yeah,
all.
we had
No.
that until they didn't anymore because it scared them,
Yeah.
because I started having premonitions of people's deaths, and then that was a problem.
That's really
And
common. That's a really common thing for kids. Yeah.
then I got really upset one day and I threw a hanger into my closet and it just landed just perfect. And they thought that was witchcraft and the devil.
Oh my
And
god, yeah. Yeah.
it's not, it's telekinetic energy when you get really pissed off, especially when you're pubescent.
Right.
There's a lot of extra energy going through
Right. I
you.
mean, that's been explained scientifically now, like, how
Right,
that kind of happens. That's
right.
actually been explained,
At that
and
age, though, I did
yeah.
not know that, and I
Yeah,
just
no.
was a mess, and I read everything I could. So by the time I was 19, I was practicing full time and able to completely manage and succeed a love spell, a folk magic love spell, through
Oh,
under listening to my guides and my ancestors telling me what to do, telling me what oils, what herbs, what things to use, and then doing so, and then having success with it.
right.
That
Yeah, lip
is
spells are like those are common ones to do when we're younger, and they work, and then that like, you need to have that. You need to have that positive outcome to
yes,
fuel right? Like, to fuel your interest to keep going, right? It's important, I think, to have
absolutely.
yeah. And then so okay, so I have like, there's a couple things I realized have not, like, brought up, and I think they're important about, like, the differences between the 2. So, with your magic, that is, like,
Mhm.
something it's innate, like you said, it's innate, you're not, like, studying it necessarily, you're not reading about it so much because it's just, like, something passed down, right? Um,
Yes.
but, like but then okay, so with, with ritual magic though, or ceremonial magic, it is a unbroken lineage
Mhm.
from ancient
Right.
times. Like, it's not this is not new. None of it's
Right.
new. We're doing the stuff that was done back in Renaissance period in Egypt.
And
Like,
it is learned. It is
yeah, it's
learned.
learned, trained, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, that's, where the heck did this go? That's important because that's a huge difference between the 2 things, right? So and then on top of that, there's, well, let's see, when you train people when you have people that you're helping, right, your students,
Mhm.
what are you guys doing? Like, what do you actually do for them? And, like, do you have different stages for them? Are they, like, considered to be certain
It's
levels?
formal because it's folk magic. So it's not as formal. It's more I'm teaching them alchemy, right?
Okay.
Coaching them in alchemy, and I'm coaching them into peeling the onion back layer by layer, because folk magic is about inner work,
Okay. Okay.
because you're asking yourself, you're getting truer to yourself, who you really truly are, because the more you um are in your muchness, your truest form, your most lightest form, that is your most magical.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
the sha
right.
like, the idea of the shaman laughing his head off, and just like he's got, like, 3 teeth in his head, you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
leather, like, that's what we're talking about there, like, that is that feeling of being in on the joke,
Yeah.
we get to that point where I coach them to the point where they're in on the joke.
Okay, I get it. So they see what they're doing, where the magic is, what's actually what the real
Yes.
situation is.
Yes,
Okay,
like Marisol said, removing the blocks, like we just kind of take out these limiting beliefs because that's the only thing that really is in the way of magic is our limiting beliefs when it
right,
comes to
true,
folk
true,
magic.
right. So with the key elements, like for ceremonial magic, would be that there's formal rituals and invocations that are used. There's
Mhm,
hierarchies, and there's the symbols that are used that are like across the board. Everybody uses them. There's complex use of geometry, astrology, alchemy, and then there's tools and clothing also that are associated with it, right?
mhm,
Um, and it's about spiritual enlightenment and personal transformation and
right.
large scale change, right? And then for practical magic, it would be like shamanism, like more like there's
Yeah,
not
it's
so much
like
structure.
shamanism, it's like more tribal, it's more
It's grounded
earth-based,
in folk based, right? And
right?
it's more
Paganism.
adaptable.
Well, like for instance, okay, with paganism, I'm a pagan priestess at my local Unitarian Universalist church, okay?
Right.
And there's not a rigid way to go about it. It's just so ruled by the seasons. I mean, we're ruled by the wheel of the year.
Right.
You know, our rules do not have, there's not really any rules. You know, we don't do the Wiccan rule of three or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like those,
speaking of Wicked, like, oh, so no, okay, sorry. I've been doing a deep dive into it. I think a lot of us, identify with it at some point in our path, like because it's like the safest one. But it is considered to be an actual organized religion now, and so witchcraft is inherently not a religion. It is like the antithesis
correct.
of that. So Wicca is. So that's kind of taken it, removed it for me. Out of there. But the guy that brought it about, Gardner, Gerald Gardner, was quite of a character, quite a bit of a character. Who was very I think he would be a bit unhappy with the people practicing his religion these days because he was quite the homophobe. He was quite the racist. Uh, he was not so great of a guy, and he was also kind of a pervert. I'm not gonna lie.
Who is
That's what
this?
that's the guy that founded Wicca, Gerald Gardner.
Well, and also let's say what it is, which is Wicca is a new age religion, and a lot of people get it mixed up and think it's folk magic, and it is not.
It takes from all different, like he pulled from a lot of different places and like put it together.
It is
But
a new age
yeah,
practice, though.
a lot, all of that, like basically all of it. I was just looking into it the other day for something totally different, unrelated, and but it's just funny, like what he had, his like conditions for entry into his thing were like opposite of what's going on nowadays, like completely. And I don't think a lot
I
of people
wanted
know that.
to address this question right here.
I don't see him. Hang on.
Okay, so folk magic is more in alignment with nature and the elements. Yes. Yes, it is our role here on the planet, right, as witches to continue our relationship with the earth.
Okay.
Our genetic line, okay, has a relationship with the earth. That's why you are witchy. If you are, okay, it's why you have folk magic if you do. It's your family's relationship, it's in your DNA.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's some overlap though. Like, so it's kind of they're both in line with those things. Like, because at the core, both ceremonial magic and practical magic are about manipulating unseen forces to bring about change. Right. So they're both about that. And whether that change is internal, spiritual, or physical, both of these traditions acknowledge that there are hidden energies and spiritual forces that can be tapped into and to affect change. Right. In
Mhm.
ceremonial magic, those forces are like often understood to be, these more complex metaphysical systems like Kabbalah or Hermeticism. Whereas in practical witchcraft, it's more like nature based, I guess, and with the elements or like the time of year. But like they're both going for the same kind of goal, basically, but about it in a different way, I guess you could say.
Right. They're
And
both in the unseen arts, right? They're both working with unseen forces.
but the
Right.
main thing is that both understand that there is no power at all in any of the things that we use. It's all the person. Like the person is the conduit of change. Like the person is the one that has the power. Like so it doesn't matter what candle you burn, it doesn't matter what incense you use, it none of that. Like it the only reason we even have those things is because it puts us into the mindset of achieving a goal. Is focusing our directive energy in
Mhm.
one, but that's what it's for. So like when you see these elaborate spells and things that are like, oh, you got to get this ingredient and that ingredient. The reason that exists is because it's trying to get you to focus and like to really put blinders on and just look at this one goal so that you can send that energy out, right? That's why.
Well, because we're so, and I mean this to everybody, you're so powerful,
Yeah, everybody
all
is.
of you, that you don't even need the herbs. But it's great to trick your brain into seeing the thing physically to tell it to make the reality do the thing.
Right. Yeah.
I
Like, yeah, yeah.
and that's why we have those memes with the spirituality starter pack, right? Where it's like crystals and like sage and incense and all
You don't
these
need any of
things.
it. Yeah.
And
You need
then
none
the
of it.
advanced pack is just coffee and a cigarette
I
because
mean, yeah.
there's some truth to that joke.
Yeah, there is. I mean, like if you look at anything, like everything is, words have power, thoughts have power, right? If you could be sending evil eye spells out to people without even knowing you're doing it, just by focusing negative energy on somebody. Like, if you let someone live rent free in your head and you're thinking
Yeah.
about them incessantly and how much you hate them or whatever, like that's all you're doing is you're like cursing yourself. Like you're cursing yourself to like constantly be thinking of that person, like the more you do it, right? So that they're powerful. You don't even know sometimes you're doing it when you are. And like,
I want
I don't
to
know.
answer
I think it's important.
I want to answer this real quick.
Oh yeah.
And then we should talk about the
Yeah.
different places and what their traditions are.
Yeah.
But this says, yeah, I've always thought magic was more personal and organic rather than reading a spell book. I felt it'd
Yeah.
actually be more powerful to use your intuition and things that you're drawn to.
Yep.
So, Celestial Edge, I love this and I want to share with you my opinion on it. Okay. So, that is exactly how I practice my magic. All I do, well, voodoo is very steeped in ancestor work. So your ancestors are where it's at.
Yeah.
And I ask the ancestors, what do I wear? I ask them, what do I put on my altar? I ask them just to tell me everything I need to know. And I get it in whispers. And this is how I've healed through ritual magic, innate, again, witchcraft and ritual magic. I took a Marie Laveau recipe for healing, a gree bag, and I took roses from my grandmother's rose bush. Again, that's powerful there because it was my grandmother's. Again, ancestor work. Lavender that I grew myself. And the other ingredients that go in the bag, I gathered together, right? And I healed an animal that was far away from me. But the thing is that do you really think those rose petals healed that animal or was
No,
that intent?
it's the intention. It's always the intention, right?
Right.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing is, okay, so like now I want to address something here too. Like so online, because like my new dissertation for my next PhD is like about how the internet has changed occult practices, right? And I
Mhm.
think that it is important to not, like just overlook how important the internet is with in regards to this. Like back in the day, we had to go to the library and stuff. Now we have it all at our fingertips. We have the most accessible magical texts about, like we have all of those things that the people that we're studying from didn't have. Like So, and it's a lot and it can be overwhelming. Okay, but
These
I would say that
are
there's a
the
lot of
days.
what?
I'm sorry. I had to say these are the days that the
Yeah,
alchemists and the magicians back in the day dreamed of.
yeah,
I mean, the
absolutely.
amount of knowledge we have at our fingertips. I mean, it is a dream come true.
It's crazy.
You
Yeah,
know,
they're
the
translating
ability
text all the
to
time. Like, yeah. And this is so we have so okay, so with there is a thing though. There's a lot of kind of weirdos out there. I'm just be honest, let's say. It's true. And like the ones that do a lot of the ceremonial ritual magic are creepy people. And they I'm sorry, it's facts. And so because anything like this is going to attract people that are like outcasts or what, like that's kind of the thing, right? But that also includes bad people, right? They also are attracted to it. And then there's also like this idea that you can be victimized in these groups because you can, because you know, predators will go in there and they'll be like, these people want to believe stuff and I'm going to give it to them and then I'm going to take advantage. That is absolutely true. So you guys always be careful with who you're
that's in
working
any
with, right?
organized
I know.
situation,
I mean,
right?
look,
I mean,
we all know about we all know about altar boys. So that's all I'm going to say there. So I'm just saying that, like, yes, within these kinds of groups, there's always the bad actors, right? So you just have to be careful of that. But like the other thing too is that there's a lot of people out there that don't have any magical ability and they train to do ceremonial magic, and I guess maybe that works for them. I don't know, but I think for ceremonial magic, for someone that's an innate practitioner, that's like a goal later and on. Like for me, like I've been doing practical magic my whole life. Now I'm looking into like this more structured system because I already do the practical, right? Like, and now I just want to
mhm,
see what else I can do in a bigger setting. I guess if that makes sense. That's what that's for.
mhm.
So
Oh,
yeah,
so I'm going to ask you what you know about Egyptian or Greek magic, since those
okay.
would be the best examples of ceremonial ritual magic.
Okay, Greek gosh, there's so much, like, so much to have, like, 5 hours. Um, so, yeah, like, it's a lot. There's a lot here, for that. Hang on just a second. So, I don't know. Oh, man. Wait, where did it go? So, when we're looking at, like, so the texts that we're talking about, like, the ancient texts that we'd be going over, like, so we pull from, like, old school stuff. I'm talking, medieval Renaissance, like, you know,
Oh,
um, the PGM, the Greek Magical Papyri, that book
I'm
is
gonna say, yeah.
yeah.
What about the Egyptian Book of the Dead?
Right, I mean,
Um,
yeah, I have the all
funerary practices,
yeah,
those very sacred. I mean, in ancient Egypt, I mean, you dying, like that's what you're looking forward to
yeah,
because a lot of their practices had to do with death and the transition over.
right. I mean, it feels like that they just had, like, a more insight into into things than we do for some reason. I'm not really sure why that is, but, yeah, like, we have, ancient Egypt started, that's where most people look back towards that to see if like, that's kind of like that makes things legitimate, I guess, as if they are known to be practiced back then. But that's not necessarily always true because honestly, let's be real, the original translations of hieroglyphics were not true. You guys know that, right? Like they weren't.
Right.
Just FYI. So they're now going back and retranslating things to see like what was incorrect, and like a lot of it's been pretty bad, incorrect. So we got to remember that like when we found those things, like we didn't know what the hell we were looking at, and so people just started making shit up, like how we do, because people do that.
Mhm.
And so now some of them weren't right. So some of these books that we're looking at now, and this is like the big problem, is that even like the most famous books, like the ones that are working off of those traditional texts, are basing their information off of incorrect things. Like so, it kind of it's basically evolved. It's own creation. Like it's like yeah, like tarot cards, for instance, right? Everybody says,
Mhm.
"Well, where do they come from?" Well, I just did this whole thing on this. Okay, so like I just did a whole bunch of research for this class I'm teaching on tarot for the historical aspect of it.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with Egypt. There's nothing. There's nothing about it.
No,
And again,
who thought it was ancient Egypt?
Aleister Crowley and all of that. Yeah, they all said it
But
was from Egypt.
Aleister Crowley was a liar.
Yeah, we know. I know that. Like, but most
There
people
he was
don't. I don't think they do know that. I don't know.
homophobic even though he engaged in homosexual orgies. Like,
Yeah, that's like
was
the actual
also
outcome of that
sexist
group.
even though he had his Scarlet Women. He was such a womanizer.
Yeah.
And he was also a glutton and a bunch of other things.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. And like, well, it makes sense because his HGA, ritual for your guardian angel was
yeah,
based on a text that was incomplete. So the incomplete text of oh my gosh, who was it? I forget. Oh my god, I just was reading it the other day. It's they found the lost book from this person, and like so when they were translating it, they were missing the whole entire second book, which guess what it was folk magic, by the way.
mhm.
So oh my gosh, give me a second. I'm gonna find it. So let me just find this really quick because I have to make sure I'm saying this correctly. I don't want to put out incorrect information really quick about this. But I was so excited when I found this. I was like, oh my gosh. So we found this manual, and it's the whole thing that was the whole Aleister Crowley's thing for Golden Dawn of finding the guardian angel ritual, which is like a really long ritual, right? Like months
Right.
long. That one. Um, that ritual was based off of texts that were completely incomplete. So they didn't even have the book that they needed to make it. So how I said he did it and he was successful, but we all know he wasn't. That's why, because he couldn't have been successful because it wasn't complete.
And
So
and that's the other thing is I see ceremonial magic as being more deity work, more angel work, more things of that nature, right?
yeah,
And practical magic is more root work,
right.
working with the elements, working with the earth. Like for instance, in my personal practice, I have jars of dirt
Yeah.
and I also have jars of water and I have crystals and rocks and I have different elements from the earth
Yeah.
and that I work with in my practice.
Yeah,
And
this is
that was
yeah, go
very
ahead.
pagan, earth-based folk, type of thing. Like I'm sure in a lot of your families, like you might have had somebody say, in our family, we have the knowing, or in our family, we have the cunning.
Yeah,
These are folk magic terms for your family's gifted,
right.
you know.
Okay. Yeah. So they're and what are they again? Say those again. What are those known
Like knowing or having the cunning, or they'll say things like, "Oh, our family just knows," especially if you guys predict births, right? Or deaths. Those are always big signs,
yeah.
um, that your family has that in them.
Okay. Yeah. That's and like so if you have the site, that's one, right? Like I hear
The
that one.
site,
The
yes.
site,
Yeah,
right?
that's a
Um,
big one.
yeah. And what does that mean though? What do you think that means? The site?
When you have the site, like myself, that is basically having a seer, right? Sometimes we've been called soothsayers, and
Right.
it's someone who naturally can prophetize and see into the future. We were called oracles in the Pythian. Is it Pythian or Python? How do you say
At the
that?
end. Yeah.
Pythian
Yeah.
priestesshood, they were oracles.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a good life. It wasn't a
No.
wonderful life. It was you were chained and kept.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't like they were. Yeah, they couldn't leave. They couldn't leave,
No.
and that's a life assignment. It was a lifetime assignment, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was it. That's your job forever. Um,
Mhm.
that's it, and that kind
And
of
that's
sucks.
why people would hide it because if you have the sight in your family, your life is that. That's it.
Yeah.
And so
Back
I'm
then. Yeah.
very fortunate to have had children and have had a family, considering I'm the seer of the family.
Right. Yeah. I mean that is one of those things that are it's very interesting. Like that, it depends on where you are in the world too. Matters, right? So it depends
Mhm.
on like if you're living, in an area that's accepting of it or not, right? I mean, just like you and I lived in the Central Valley, your family was accepting, mine was not, like at all. Mine was like, no,
Right.
you're making that up, whatever.
Well,
Um,
mine was
sucks,
until they weren't anymore because they got scared because there were things that were happening that they couldn't understand. It was beyond them. And
right,
and so that creates fear. And
right.
so I forgive them for that because I really feel like that was just not anything they were explained.
Yeah, that's yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't know. At some point I feel like, willful ignorance is like kind of not an excuse, but that's me.
But when your
I'm
kids
hard.
telekinetically moving things and stuff like that, you're
It's
gonna
scary.
think,
Yeah,
yeah, you're gonna think they're possessed if that's your understanding and your culture.
right. Yeah.
And
I mean,
and luckily for me, like when my kids got up to puberty and started doing that, moving things around the house, things popping up, going crazy, I knew that it was just extra chi. I didn't freak out. I was like, okay, they're going through this. This is totally normal.
right. Yeah, I mean, that's yeah, I wish I would have had I wish I would have had that. Like I just got told that it was crazy, like, or it was the devil. That was a big one. Like
Right.
that was like fun to hear as a
Well,
kid.
I get still told I'm the devil,
Yeah, I had
especially
someone
when
message me
I'm
that the other
panicked.
day, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, usually you get told you're God. I'm the devil. So,
No, I
like,
literally got told like, how could you read tarot cards after you died? Like, don't you know that's the devil? And I'm like, are you? Like, I just all right, dude. Like, clearly you didn't watch any of that video because I literally talk about exactly that situation. But hey,
Mhm.
go ahead and try to put your fear onto me. It doesn't work. So
Oh, okay. I need to address this question. How did I
okay.
teach my children telekinesis? I did not.
No.
Um,
Well, we don't
I,
teach our kids stuff like that.
yeah, I don't know how to wield mine as well. It happens when I'm upset. I've blown car transmissions when I've been upset. I've broken glasses. It just happens when there's a little too much chi in the body.
Yeah,
My
the
children
circuit.
did that when they were going through puberty, and most people do, especially if they come from a magic family or a gifted
Yeah.
family. It's going to be a little bit more so. And it's just extra chi, it's transformational energy just popping up. And it's not any kind of poltergeist. No, it's not
Well,
a polter.
yeah, the poltergeist is that's coming from a person. It's not an actual ghost.
Right, like a poltergeist is a negative entity. It's a whole different thing. It's kind of fed on fear. And what I'm talking about is more like a sneeze of energy. It's not purposeful. It's not towards anybody specific. It just pops out.
Yeah, that's very common. I mean, it's poltergeist activity is usually not that. It's usually just a person in the house that's going through it, and
Mhm.
some energy that's like instead of this loop that it goes in the body, it like shoots out occasionally in random places, and then like things will break. It's really, I'm sure most people can relate. I'm sure someone's had that happen to them before, like
Mhm,
they've been
and you
mad
might
and
have blamed
something
a
broke.
ghost you might have blamed a ghost or thought it was something
Yeah,
else, and really you just scared yourself.
yeah,
I mean,
right. Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah, has anybody had that happen? Has anyone, if so, like, put in the chat, have you ever like been upset and then like a picture fall off the wall or like something, door slams, whatever, what have you? Has that ever happened to any of you guys? Love to know because it can be scary if you don't know that that's just actually not supernatural. It's actually just your own energy just kind of manifesting out into the environment, to the visible environment, right? That's it. Not even,
Mhm.
it's not even magic. It's just mundane as
It's
hell.
not
Yeah.
yeah, it's just energy, that's the
Yeah.
other thing I was gonna say is that, the practical magic portion is also called divination. If
I mean,
you
divination is like a huge term. Like, huge.
Right.
What is it? Yeah.
So, tarot cards are a form of divination.
Hmm. One form, a more recent form. Yeah.
Yes. When was cartomancy on the scene again, Anna? The
1400s.
1800s, right?
1400. 1400.
1400s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But
So,
before that, we had Spicy, which is the reading of entrails of a sacrificed animal.
yes,
There is reading
we
cloud
had
formation, all kinds of stuff. Like every
bones,
culture has their own
charms.
version. Yeah.
Yes. Reading of tea leaves, right? That's
Leaves,
another
coffee
form of
grinds. Yeah.
divination.
Yep.
Scrubbing into a crystal ball,
Or a
another form
mirror
of
or
divination.
water. Yep.
Right. I do a lot of mirror work. I
Mhm.
personally love that. But these are all forms of divination, and this is all a form of witchcraft, which is a form of folk magic.
Which isn't magic.
It's not,
It's
it's
not
natural.
magic. It's natural.
It's our natural default state if we allow it.
It is. Like, and that's the thing. That's what we're, uncovering is that like we have no, we didn't, we lost the need for it with the advent of like agriculture and like all these other things that modern life has given us. And so it stopped being a thing. But some of us, it's still there. And so it's not, it's just that science can't measure it. I've been saying this for years. Before we had the ability to see into the human body, people that would say, oh, the human body has these things in it, like humors or whatever, the things that were believed to be causing us problems. Okay. Some people were
Which is
very
also
accurate.
it's also rooted in shamanism.
What?
To treat everything like it's a spirit. Each thing
Oh,
has a
yeah.
spirit, right?
Well, because we
Okay,
didn't have understanding.
right. Okay, but also that is the energetic understanding of it, right?
Right. And I know, but like everything used to be a demon or a evil spirit or whatever. Like it's
Isn't
bad,
it
right?
funny how we've carried that over though to
Yeah.
now as our practical applications are
Yep.
happening, we're still banishing spirits from people's systems.
Right. And the funny thing is like, we were talking about this, like the Catholic Church is like one of the biggest practitioners of demonic magic, right? Summoning demons. And when you say that, people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that." Well, dude, read the book.
But it's
Okay, read the
true.
story. And here the thing is the difference though is that they were summoning demons to trap them and to send them back into the depths of hell because that demon was messing with their life. But what we're talking about is actually like habits, vices. Okay.
Mhm.
And so we attribute them to a specific demon. And so then like seminary schools, right? Do you know that there's this seminary, like Harvard, like back in the late 1800s, had to issue a statement to their students to stop summoning demons in the dorm rooms because they were all seminary students, but they were doing it because they were like understanding when they're reading the Goetia, like that, oh, they weren't summoning them to like go do bidding for them. They were summoning them to trap them and get them out of their lives because they were feeling tempted by certain things or whatever. So basically it's like a fragment of your own psyche that is problematic for you. So you are attributing it to an external force, but really it's internal, if that makes sense. So it's just a form of transmutation. Okay.
Right.
And like just like, okay, I'm gonna banish it. And like this ritual act of doing that then alleviates the practitioner from these vices allegedly. Okay. So like, oh, I lust after women, but I'm trying to be a priest. So I'm gonna call on the demon of lust. I'm gonna trap him in this like little box, and then I'm gonna cast it back to hell. And when I do that, I will no longer be afflicted with this lust for women. Like that's literally what they were doing, and that's the Catholic Church. And vet me on
Mhm.
that. Go do your research on it. If you don't believe me, it's totally fine because you'll find it. Like that. It's funny to me that, and again, organized religion is all ceremonial magic, like all of it is. It's
Mhm.
just called prayer and
I
singing
mean,
hymns. I
and
don't
when
know.
it gets down to the bottom of it, really, like ceremonial magic, right, invokes like hierarchical spiritual entities, right? Like it's outside of you.
Yeah,
And witchcraft is more, like I said, the inner work, right? It's more earth-based energy and personal power. It's more about I'm here to be and just be all about it.
Right. Yeah. I think,
Right.
and then but like also similarly, like, the way that we use priests and members of the clergy, okay, they are intermediaries, right, between the person and the spirit, right? Like Jesus, God, whoever, like they're the ones communicating for you or like on your behalf, just like just like what magicians do, like same exact thing,
Yes.
just a different title. But the difference is in these practices, we believe that like we are part of it, it's part of us. It's not outside, it's not separate. Whereas like with the church now, it's kind of changed and it's not like it's like you're you're abdicating your personal responsibility to some spirit you can't see in the sky, wherever it's at. And instead of it being in you and part of you, like you're trying to appease it outside of yourself. So,
Mhm.
like some people understand that it's part of them, and that's great. And those are typically the people that act right, you know, like they actually act like Christians. Okay. But the ones that are still thinking that it's like, oh, I can just act any way I want and then go to church on Sunday and ask for forgiveness and I'm fine, that don't work, you know? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so let me see this. I want to put this up because this here. So the rise in religion aided the fall of believing in order. Yes, 100%. So do you know why that is though? Like this is documented in history, and the thing that's funny to me as somebody that does academic research and just for fun, I research things, that it's all available. Anyone can look this up and find out, but nobody wants to. And that's the problem. Like, is that yeah, to keep you in control, right? To keep you acting right, you got to have some fear. You got to instill fear. So that's what happens, right? That's what they do. We, if you, they, we know how powerful we are, then we will be able to do more. So we take that away from people and we put it into this other thing, and you know, that's where we are today. If that makes sense. Like, so it's all part of us. It's not separate. And
Mm,
when you accept that, you realize that you have to act right every day, all day. You can't just be a dick and then ask for forgiveness the
right.
next on
No,
Sunday. Like, it
no
doesn't work that way.
bypassing in this. There's
What?
no bypassing.
No bypassing. Like, either it's you are it is you or not. But like it literally says in the Bible, right? What does it say? It says you're made in his image, right? Like he made
So
us. Oh, whatever you want to call it. He made us. We're
he,
all
she,
made of the same thing. Yeah.
yeah. Here's the one I was gonna say. I never even thought about that part. Fear and control. Yes. So fear and control are the thing that keep us playing small and keep us believing things about ourselves that are really not true. It's just programming.
Oh my
And
gosh, I'm gonna share with you guys a link in the chat in a second. And it's a Catholic priest who is ordained by the Vatican, and he's talking about hell and how hell is a creation of the church in order to keep people scared and keep them acting right. And I would go to this guy's church. I am against it 100%, but I would go because this guy knows what he's talking about. And he has an active practice to this day. He's great. I'll show you. I'll put it in there. Just give me a second. Sorry, Stephanie. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no,
So,
you are fine. We actually we're getting close. We're at the end of our hour, so we need to answer y'all's psychic questions for us too.
yeah.
So put your
Yeah.
questions in chat
Yeah.
while
Let me
Anna's getting
link
this
really quick. Here it
link
is.
for you.
There it is. Okay. So I'm gonna link it right now. Let me copy this. All right. It's gonna, you guys, it's only 2 minutes or 3 minutes long, and I'm telling you that it is worth it if you wanna check it out. Like I highly advise you do. Okay, so yeah, let me get my card then. See, but yeah, like divination, but really quick, back to divination. Divination is like, what does that mean? It is the like practice
It's
of
the use of a prop to do what you already are able to do. It's just you're using that prop to help you. Like you use it like a tool. So like it's like an agreement with the tool. Like this symbol means this to me. This symbol means that to me. And so you're like playing a game of charades with yourself basically.
well, divination, like definition is like the ability to talk or to communicate with unseen forces, unseen realms in the attempt to understand past, present, or future situations. Like that's like what it means. But like so
Correct.
much in that definition. It covers like everything from channeling to actual like use of tarot cards or a Ouija board or like whatever, all of those things. So,
Again,
but
another divination tool,
yeah, they're just
Yeah,
tools.
I mean, a pendulum is a divination tool.
Mhm.
Even
Yep.
though it's yes or no, we're still using our own ability. We just don't even realize it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really like, yeah, it's I don't know, pendulums are difficult though, man. It's like they're so easy to be like, they're hard for me. Like, cause I know I feel like I'm moving it. Like I can't like I bought a thing so it would hang on it so it wasn't my hand micro movements doing it. And it didn't do anything. I was like very disappointed. And I was like, wait, what? Like, so yeah, I
But when
don't
I
know
get,
about that.
I think maybe when I get a good like bout of the shakes, I'm gonna
Yeah.
see if I should do a pendulum and see what it does, you know?
See what it does. Yeah. Okay. So does anyone have any questions? If you guys have a question, oh, what is that? Why governments being believed is hang on. Hang on. Well, yeah. So 100%. Like it is like the way that the link that I put in the chat, like this guy explains it perfectly. He talks about like why, organized religion is so focused on having you become born again because adults can't be controlled, but children can. And so as an adult, when you go and you become born again, you are now a child again, right? Like you're now this new like thing and they can control you and use this kind of to manipulate you and get you to behave a certain way. But right now that's not working because for the first time ever, we have the highest number of people that are not identifying as religious anymore, ever, ever. Like it's really high. It's over half, I think, which is it's never been that. It's always been around 70% of people are members of some organized religion, and now it's like half. So that's a big, huge, and that happened because of COVID. Like because people started to, do
Question.
research. Yeah, and they started to like have time on their hands. They didn't have to work. And if you think about it, like, I mean, I'm gonna get off on a little tangent here, but like, why do you think we get paid so little? Like, why is cost of living so high? It's like we don't have time to think about these things when we're rat racing it every day. When we're trying to
Yeah.
pay bills and we're just going to work to pay daycare, going to work to pay rent, and it's just a repeat the same thing. We don't have the time to like nurture ourselves and think about things like this. So, when they put us on home, like on lockdown, we did have time and people acted accordingly, started to look into it and started to change their perceptions of things. And suddenly family became more important than work. And oh, that wasn't an intended outcome. So shit, we better like raise the cost of everything really quick and make everybody go back to that old rat race. And that's where we're at right now. Like that's my theory. Anyways. Do I have
No,
proof
we're
of that?
seeing it
Not
happen.
really. Yeah, yeah. You guys, if you have questions, ask them. You get one question.
Questions.
One
So,
question, tarot reading or whatever you call it. The rat.
anyone?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I'm a college professor and I still can't afford to buy a house. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I'm a doctor. Like, I can't.
And if
Like,
you'd like a more, Anna, do you have a website for anybody to go to you for a
I mean,
reading or
I
doing
do. I'm
readings?
not doing readings like so much like anymore because my schedule's so crazy with teaching and researching and my other thing I'm doing. But yeah, it's stoneesoteric.com and like, um, yeah, if interest, yeah. And then you have one. Why don't you share yours?
TheGypsySiren.com. You can book me for readings. I also do spiritual counseling. I also teach and mentor people who are waking up to their gifts and needs a little bit of help. My Pink Temple is open for those who want to learn alchemy and sex magic. And I'm also available for those of you who want a witch to do your wedding and officiate your wedding and marry you. I actually do pagan weddings as well.
And I'll say I didn't say this, but like mine's a little different. I do academic research because I'm a professor, and I focus on trauma and how it's related to the occult. Like so, childhood trauma and psychic ability is correlated. That's my research. I've published on that a few times now, and they're connected because trauma creates that. So uh, creates the need for that ability to stay with us, right? So if you have a particularly high ACE score or adverse childhood experience score, I work with people like that. So I work with people that are like traumatized, unfortunately, individuals, and then go from there to see like what like I basically I do research, so I'm trying to get data also. So to see like for more future studies, like how much of this actually is correlated and what are those events that like kind of lead to it, right? Like what are the kind of
Right.
universal like themes around these things? So because I mean like 97.5% of people that are psychic have moderate to severe childhood trauma history. So, like
Yes, they
that's
do. And there's also connections I've noticed to autism as well.
right. Well, because there's a difference here. Like that's I've been researching lately too. And so when we say autism, that's become a big blanket, a huge
It's too much of
umbrella.
a blanket,
Right.
but I have been discovering I didn't realize that we're born with a genetic marker that shows that we are predisposed to autism, okay? But
Right.
then trauma makes those things happen. Like that the
Yeah.
neurological issues come
Right.
forth
Well, I
after
think
the
it's like
fact.
neurodivergent. So like I think that trauma can create it can't create autism, but it can create
Right.
neurodivergent in people.
Okay.
Looks
Okay.
like autism. Right.
Okay.
Especially in
Gotcha.
women. Because we are like mas master maskers, right? Like we've had to be our whole lives because that was a boy thing, right? Like girls didn't have it. Girls weren't this problem. This was a boy thing. So we had to like grow up figuring out how to like not be too weird, and
I was
like
gonna ask you to read
yeah,
Celestial Edge
I
while
have.
I
I already
was
started before
oh,
she even
okay.
asked.
Because I
I
I
think it's.
already
I
have
don't know. I don't even know like if it's a girl. I'm sorry. I just for some reason said
I felt that way
this
too.
her, and I
Melissa
don't know why.
Mom
Sorry.
Celestial. And Marisol, I have an answer for you. So I just saw a video on YouTube about the Naga priestesses, and I want you to watch it because snake priestesses and snake shamans, I think is what you need to see. So I'm gonna send you this link in here and share it so that you can access it and watch
Oh,
it because
okay.
I think it'll land for you.
Okay, Celestial Edge. I apologize for that. Sorry. I don't know what if you're a man or woman, so I don't know why I said that. Sorry. I'm not trying to be assuming anyone's gender here. That was my bad. But I okay, so for this period of your life, right now, I see that there's like some, I don't know, some conflict, and it could be internal. I don't know if it's internal or if it's external, but there's also some truth that you need to be um about it. Like so, and then the lovers card. So this is like either let me get another card here. Let's see. So either you or how all right. So if you're like feeling defeated, okay, so like if there's like some struggle, strife going on with you, either internally or externally, right? There's a truth. You need to own your truth. This is what I'm seeing. Like you need to own it. And like past disappointments should not be predicting your future outcomes anymore. Like if you've been kind of hanging on to like the negatives from the past experiences, like all that's doing is setting you up for more bad outcomes, right? Like so it's about like understanding that you can trust yourself again. I don't know what I'm saying again. Oh, and hang on. Oh, which one was this? This is, oh, cool. Yeah, Ace of Swords. So it's like a new truth. This is a new phase, a period of life that like it's a new, starting over. This is start like a time to like kind of take control and go forward with like learning from what your past was and like taking the good stuff, leaving behind the shit. Like no more, not letting people dictate your mood, not letting people get to you so much. Like, it's to have a bit of a detached, be a little blasé about when people give you shit, like who cares? It's more on them than it is on you. Does that make sense? And like this, stop letting people take advantage of you. Like stop with this. Like stop letting people walk all over you. Don't be a yes person all the time. Like be a little harder. Boundaries. Boundaries. Like I'm seeing boundaries needing and yeah, so you need to be true to yourself and it's not about living for other people. Like so if you are minimizing yourself for others, that's not going to cut it any longer going forward. You got to be all about yourself and what you believe in. And maybe it's a time to figure out what you believe in, wholeheartedly, like really dive into it. But that's what I got for you. I have no clue, like, any of that resonates, but that's what I saw. And I was pulling your cards before you asked. I don't know why I was doing that, but like, People pleasing. Oh, good. Then do it, man. Like this is the perfect. Like, this is the perfect time to stop it right now. Don't become us. Don't become us. Like we did the. I can't hear you. You're muted. There's no. You have no volume control.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. You're definitely in a sweet spot here. Learn from our people pleasing ways.
Yeah.
Don't up of yourself too much. Like really work on yourself, build yourself up. Make sure you have a strong emotional core, and you will get very far.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I'm so glad. I'm sorry. I was like, I felt bad because I'm glad to know that I was not wrong. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't want to like put anyone off, but yeah. So don't be. Look, we're both in our mid 40s, and we both lived our entire lives like people pleasing people, and it gets you nowhere fast, other than drained, abused, absolutely like just
Your
destroyed.
health.
Yeah, and bad for your body. It's bad for everything. So, and if you think
Everything.
about it, nobody respects a people pleaser. You just
No,
look at it.
and nobody respects somebody over 40 being a hot mess.
And true. That is also true. So, so in your 20s, you got time,
It's
but I
cute.
would wait. I would just do it like,
Yeah.
boundaries are harder to set boundaries after the fact. So it's good to start off strong with new relationships, to have boundaries. And your boundaries are for you, not for other people. They're what you are willing to put up with. It's not what other people are willing to put up with. It's what you're willing to put up with. Right? Like, and
Mhm.
that's important. And I think any kind of magic practitioner needs to be very strict on their personal boundaries, because our energies mesh with other people's like way too easily. And
Usually.
yeah, you'll be carrying home other people's stuff and not even know it. Like, it sucks. Bluebird. Any general messages? Anything? I see. I got another question. Let me make sure we don't have anything else up here. Okay. I don't. Oh, you did. Did you do Marisol already?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Just checking. I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry.
No,
And
you're
then
all good.
Bluebird.
Bluebird, I feel like you have a new love or somebody coming in if you're single right now. Like it feels like either somebody's coming in or you've got a new love. Let me know if I'm right, and then I'll go off on a tangent.
Marisol, also 46, also recovering. Also recovering people pleaser, and I'll never do it again. Like at all. And that life has been so much better. Oh my God, on this side of it, for sure. And
Oh, yes, absolutely amazing. I mean, I am dating, and I actually have a boyfriend, and everybody loves him. And it turns out, like, one of my friends, she goes, "Okay, Steph, like we never like anybody you date, okay?"
mm-hmm.
And
True.
they're like, "We like this guy. What's up?" And I said, "You know what? It's called doing the inner work. Been going to therapy, been working on myself, working on my healing. Because when you work on those things, you attract people who are also doing the same."
It is 100% true. Like that is, I look, if there's anything I could ever say, like the most magical advice I've ever gotten in my life was one that I scoffed at and ignored for 46 years. And that was like, when you love yourself and you focus on yourself, you'll attract the people that you want around you. I was like, that sounds so dumb, lame, but they were 100% right. I've done this too. My boyfriend, how awesome is my boyfriend? How awesome.
Amazing.
It's amazing. Like, it's unreal. It's like I pinch myself every day. Like, what is going on here? But like in the past, both of us have had partners that have been like, you guys suck, because we did for them. We sucked. It was shit, right? Like, but together, like now, all my friends are great. My job is great. Everything's fine. Like everything's good. And it's all I did was change like my inner narrative. That's it. Like, honestly. So you, Bluebird, I got for you change.
Yeah, somebody's coming in for you, but it's somebody that you knew before. I don't know if it's like, you seem young, but it seems like this person was either a high school sweetheart, or like you knew them from school or something. But you're definitely, you've got someone coming in, and it's going to be a new love. Like it's
I
going
see
to be.
I see some stuff where like you need to be looking, like there's something about work here, like mastering a skill, like or just really refining something that you're into, like I don't know, maybe it could be a hobby, it could be like an actual, like skill set. But there's options coming for you, like a lot of options. And a lot of them are gonna be duds, like no good. But there is one shiny new one in there. And then also this hanged man is like different perspective. So like you being able to see things with new eyes is also a thing. So, just being able to, like, if you've been having bad luck with so like what's the definition of insanity is to repeat the same behavior and expect a different result, right? Like, so we got to stop doing that. Like, right, we were doing that too, and then we stopped
Mhm.
that and things come. So whatever you're used to doing, stop doing that. Like, and do the
Yeah.
opposite. The thing that makes you very uncomfortable is going to be the thing that will kind of set you free, if that makes sense, right? Like the thing you don't want to do. It's like, I don't know. I feel like you're stubborn too, like this, and but we all are stubborn, Yeah. Fire woman, what's up? Hey,
Hello, darling.
yeah. Yeah. See. What is coming your way?
Okay. What's coming up for you?
See
Do you have any specific questions for me, Firewoman 5? Because I'm going to do just specific questions, no general for me.
Meh. I see meh. Like you're like meh. Like, you're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want it. Like people offering stuff to you, it's just nothing's like really making you feel like you want to do it. Like, there's nothing really enticing out there. Like, I don't know. I feel like, are you waiting for something better? Like, it's like you're like in like a lady in waiting, kind of waiting
Oh,
for
yeah.
a better.
It feels like
What?
she has to be patient for something.
Yeah, no, the fool. So again, this is about you. Like, this is not about waiting for other people. It's about you got to do it yourself. Like, you got to start a new journey. Like, so what's that journey about? You need to take a step forward and overcome. All right, so you got to overcome the this is the inner work stuff too, girl. Sorry. This is the stuff that nobody wants to do. But all of those narratives that you got, it's again, these are the things that are blocking you. Most people here, I'm gonna say, it's gonna be your own belief about yourself. Always. And it's not even your belief, it's someone else's belief that they imprinted on you or showed you as like so whatever age and you carried it. And like that needs to be dismantled. You need to go up against the bad stories about yourself and tackle them and knock them over.
It's mother wound.
Yeah, like this is
That's what that feels like.
it's really important. Like if we have these ideas, like if you find yourself saying things like, "Oh, I'm never gonna be happy," or "Oh, this always happens to me," or whatever stuff like that, you need to like sit down with yourself and identify where that first originated. Like where did it come from? It could be someone told you, or it could be someone showed you by not doing things or by doing certain things that made you believe that like you weren't worthy of whatever you want. You need to be able to see that, find it, and then assess the person who gave that to you. How successful are they? Are they great people? Are they happy? Probably not, I'm gonna say right now. So once you can identify the source and then you can like dismantle it because you can realize that that person's a freaking idiot and like doesn't know what they're talking about in the first place. And they were just unhappy with themselves, so they're pick it on me kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Then you can start to release that and it won't be on you anymore. Like, but we will find the things we believe about ourselves to be true. It's facts. That's the RAS system in the brain that looks for the confirmation bias all the time. Our beliefs about ourselves will be found in our environment because our brain does that. It scans the environment to validate what our beliefs are, right? So if you believe things are always going to suck, guess what? It will always suck. So it's really hard though. Get out of that mindset. Get onto the mindset of everything's good. It's Delulu. Like it's being a little Delulu. We say this all the time.
It's alchemy, though, too. It's understanding alchemy. It's understanding the 12 laws of the universe. And all that really is energetic laws, like understanding the game and playing it properly. And
Yeah.
like I mentor this, guys. If you need the mentorship, go to my site, thegypsysiren.com. I teach people how to alchemize so that you are not playing in limiting beliefs anymore.
Well, they're really important to break down, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, good. You're in a happy place. You need to hone this skills. What skill do we need to work on right now? We need to work on a skill. We need to get mastered at the skill. I don't know what it is, but it's something that you've been doing for a while, and like you need to like get on it, like be about it. Like maybe you're stepping like kind of half in, half out on something, like step on it, step in it. Like it could, and then Ace of Cups, new love situation. Are you in a happy relationship right now? Or are you still single? What's up? You have someone new coming in? This is the Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups, and then King of Pentacles. Interesting. Yeah, new man with lots of money.
Sugar daddy.
Yeah, money can't buy happiness, but it's a lot nicer to cry in a Mercedes than it is to cry on a bicycle. Like, right?
Right.
There's that.
There is that.
Oh, good. Yeah, writing your book. That's time. Maybe that's time. That's a hard task, girl. It's a hard task to do. It's hard. And
yes, it is.
That is going to be a cathartic situation for you, though. You're going to get a lot of therapeutic release from that. So, yeah, that's it. Like, that's sitting down and working at it, like, tediously, kind of. Yeah. You're going to be sick of it afterwards. Yeah. So, does anyone else have any other questions? Or we go? Oh, and we want to ask you guys, like, this is a new time slot because we're trying to, like, we're doing the Thursdays in the evening, but like my teaching schedule now, like I can't anymore for that day. So we're trying a couple different times. Right, we're gonna try them out, right? This is the Sunday one.
Yeah. Keep an eye out on our socials, on our Facebooks, our Facebook pages, our business pages, our TikToks, our Instagrams, all of those, because we post about this show on those places. We'll probably get a business page for this so we can announce every time we're on.
Yeah.
We're just going to try out different time slots to see what's best for everybody. And just come on and come join us when you see us. And we enjoy having you guys here, and we'll be doing different topics again.
Yeah, and I'll also be doing tarot card like giveaways. Like I have so many decks that like I just want to gift them out to people because I'm not gonna ever use them. Like, so yeah. So we're gonna do stuff like that. We'll have like raffles, whatever. Yeah, because we haven't even been doing it though, Firewoman. We've been on break. We've been on hiatus. So
yeah, we have been on break. We took a break in August, and we had been on it ever since because everybody had gotten sick and stuff. So now we're back, and we're back in our groove. So we'll be seeing people more and being on our podcast more and reading y'all more, and our new format
topics. Let us know.
And a half, right? 90-minute thing where we give ourselves more time to read you guys after the show, and we also give ourselves enough time to talk about the topics.
Schools, love that. I'm glad school's kicking your ass. It's such a good thing, man.
It is.
I'm a professor. I'm very biased towards education. I love it very much. So I think it's important. And I think it's good. It'll challenge you. You can see what you're made of, girl. You got it. You got this. If you need help studying, let me know. Like, I basically teach. It's up to 31 topics now. By the way, I went over them again. And I was like, oh my god, I teach 31 different disciplines. That's kind of nuts. But yeah, like, I mean, it is crazy, right? Like, that's a lot.
We call you Hermione.
What was that?
I said, and that's why we call you Hermione.
No, I actually got called out in a meeting the other day at work, and they're like, "Oh, and this is Dr. Stone. She's our catch-all. She can teach any class." And like, I was like, "Oh, thanks." It's so nice. Like, it was great. I love it when women support women. It's like very.
Well, anyway, the witch wound is the sisterhood that we need from each other.
Yeah, but if you guys have ideas for like what you want to hear about, learn about, tell us. Like, send us a message or comment on this. And you guys like you can like the video. That'd be helpful because it helps us like get more engagement.
Like and subscribe and share.
Hey. Oh yeah, no, but hey, Noelle, nice team. All right, well, we're gonna take off, but we'll see you guys next time, and we'll announce it. We'll send an announcement out when we're gonna do it. Okay.
Yes. All right, everyone. Loves to you all.
All right.